There was a tangible sense of loss when Jon Stewart announced he was stepping down from The Daily Show. Like him or not, Stewart created an indispensable platform for political media criticism. So when Comedy Central said they wanted someone just as provocative, they may have gotten a whole lot more than they expected.
If you've never heard of Trevor Noah, you're in good company. He was only introduced to Daily Show viewers in December.
We are very pleased to welcome our newest contributor from South Africa, Mr. Trevor Noah.
Cue Google when Comedy Central named the relatively unknown comic as Jon Stewart's successor. What turned up was a history of questionable tweets.
People are going to get drunk and think that I'm sexy. Signed, Fat Chicks Everywhere.
They ranged from tacky to downright troubling.
Behind every successful rap billionaire is a double as rich Jewish man. Hashtag Beats by Dreidel.
Noah was called out for bashing women and Jews and reproached by the Anti-Defamation League. Noah has defended himself, tweeting, "To reduce my views to a handful of jokes that didn't land is not a true reflection of my character nor my evolution as a comedian." Comedy Central is standing behind Noah, but the network may have a larger issue.
I've been holding my arms like this since I got here. Yeah. I never thought I'd be more afraid of police in America than in South Africa.
Provocative humor like that was a large part of Jon Stewart's appeal. But American audiences may be less receptive if they think the joke's on them.
I think it's just harder to do that if you're somebody from outside the culture. In order for us to kind of laugh with you, we have to believe that you like America.
At this point, Noah might be questioning that himself.
Well, this jury is really going to be out on this one. I mean, so far Comedy Central is sticking with this. They haven't said they're going to change their mind. I mean, and some of these things did go back a fair distance, and some of them weren't as bad as others. But I don't know. I'm going to reserve judgment on this one. I still haven't seen him even perform an act.
There was a, oh, go ahead.
Oh, I thought I was the only person in America who had never heard of him, and it turns out I'm glad that to know that a lot of people haven't heard from him. So I quickly went to watch that YouTube video. He's hilarious. I mean, he is edgy, provocative comedy, and he seems like the natural heir, the appropriate heir to Jon Stewart. And his comedy by design is edgy, so I can see why he makes jokes about Jews or about women. But I don't think he's anti-Semitic. I don't think he's anti-women, at least now, not based on those tweets.
Well, there was a joke that he tweeted. I don't know when he came up with it, but it was something like, why do men get down on their knee to ask a woman to marry them so that if she says no, they're in the uppercut position? Yeah. Yeah. That's just a really, can I say crappy on air? I just did. That's a crappy joke. I mean, to me, that does have a whiff of misogyny. I would also say, there was a good Washington Post column. I can't remember, unfortunately, the name of the woman who wrote it, but she was an African-American woman saying that in some of his stand-up, Trevor Noah makes fun of the way Black Americans talk. He makes fun of the way Mexicans talk. And you look in the audience and you see white people laughing at these caricatures of non-white people, and it made her uneasy. And as a white guy, it made me uneasy watching it, too.
Well, he's getting whacked around now, and I suppose he deserves it, and I think it will pass. I haven't seen anything that would disqualify him from going ahead and being the host of The Daily Show. I think that unless something much worse than we've seen to date comes out, then he'll be judged on his performance as host of The Daily Show. And I have to say, I'm kind of skeptical, but maybe he'll do a good job and prove to be a worthy successor to Jon Stewart. I think some of this other stuff is, I guess the euphemism is unfortunate, and I'm sure he wishes he hadn't done a lot of it now, but we move on.
So I'm at the risk of getting the unhip award yet again. I have to say that I'm a person that believes that, comedians should have a wide berth, but there are lines. For me, I just get to the point where I just think it's not funny after a certain point. Now, most of these jokes, by the way, were done years ago. And so I've listened now to a number of comedians said, boy, if I was judged by what I started with, I never would have had a career because I was awful and I said awful things at the beginning because I just didn't get it. So you like to hope that that's what's happening here. He's quite young. That's what they wanted. And so we'll see what happens. But every other thing he's done for HBO and everything else has gotten very high ratings, including his interaction with Jon in his role as a contributor. So we'll see how that is. Now, the other piece of that is just cultural in America. When black folk talk about race, other people get uncomfortable. And that's a bridge he's going to have to figure out how to cross, because he has the global viewpoint that a John Oliver from last week tonight does, but John Oliver's a white guy talking about that. So when you talk about a black guy talking about race, even when he talks about his own condition, you know, that's just something he's going to have to deal with.
Well, and in that Washington Post piece I mentioned, that the writer was, I think, irritated that Trevor Noah had said that African Americans shouldn't identify as African American. He said, well, that term doesn't hold up. It doesn't make sense to call yourself African American. And she was saying, you know, excuse me, that's how I refer to myself. I have good reason to. Basically, don't come in here telling me that I'm not allowed to use that nomenclature. So.
That's a cultural issue. I don't think he's being offensive. I think it's cultural. I mean,
but that's just. I was just trying to get to Kelly's point about how he's going to talk about race as a biracial man.
He's going to have to figure out how to do that as the lead guy, not a contributor. It's one thing to come in and do a little hit here and have a contributor. You're going to, as a lead guy, understand what the culture is, and it's a little bit tougher.
When does he start?
I think the fall.
I don't think that Stewart has announced a date that he's departing yet.
Right. So there's that for him to deal with, and it'll be interesting to watch to see, you know, and based on this, I'm sure he's thinking, wow.
I'm not going to go there.
I really say yes.
And then the other thing about it is, if you're going to do it, then that sarcasm better be really funny on top of everything else, and none of it was.